Jaguar Wright is not holding back. She is tearing the lid off something that has been whispered about for more than 2 decades. The names, the power moves, the NDAs, and the sudden deaths that still don't sit right with anyone who truly loved Aaliyah or Static Major. The story of Aaliyah's final flight has been told as a tragic accident. A young star gone too soon. But when you start connecting the dots, the story looks less like bad luck and more like a carefully placed trap. And now, with Jaguar Wright pointing directly at powerful figures in the music industry, fans are asking if Static Major tried to warn us before he was silenced forever. Static Major was not just another songwriter in the background. He was the man behind some of the biggest records of the late 90s and early 2000s. From Pony with Genuine to So Anxious, from Rock the Boat with Aaliyah to writing for Nas and Dr. Dre, his pen-shaped R&B. He had a gift for writing hooks that stuck to the culture, but behind that success, Static also saw the dark side of the industry. He knew it wasn't always about talent. He said himself, it was about decisions. You could be talented, but if you didn't play by the rules of the powerful men at the top, your career, and even your life, could be destroyed. When Aaliyah and Static teamed up, they became a threat. Their sound, mixed with Timbaland's beats, was untouchable. They were creating something fresh that couldn't be copied. The industry should have celebrated them, but instead, it seemed like the walls started closing in. Aaliyah was pushing for her own creative control. She was no longer a teenager being guided by others. She was a woman shaping her brand, and that made certain people very nervous. Think about it. Aaliyah had just finished filming Queen of the Damned. She was stepping into Hollywood. She had signed onto new deals. She had new music ready to drop. She was at the peak of her influence. People around her have said over and over that the world would look very different if she had lived. She wasn't just an artist. She was a trendsetter. If she did something, everyone followed. That type of influence is dangerous to men who want control. Then comes that flight. A small Cessna overloaded with luggage. A pilot who shouldn't have been flying. Witnesses saying Aaliyah didn't even want to get on that plane because she was already unconscious after being given something to calm her. And yet, that plane still went up into the sky. Minutes later, it crashed just past the runway. 8 lives lost. Aaliyah gone at only 22 years old. Now here is the strange part that makes people raise eyebrows. After the crash, witnesses were forced to sign NDAs. A plane crash should be an accident. People shouldn't need gag orders about what they saw. Why silence the truth if there was nothing to hide? Why cover the testimony if it was simply a mechanical failure? The only reason for NDAs is if powerful people wanted to bury the real story. Jaguar Wright is now connecting the dots that many have been too afraid to say out loud. She points at Sean Carter, Jay-Z, saying he was involved in the setup. She claims Aaliyah was targeted because she rejected powerful men, because she threatened the plans to push other artists forward, including Beyoncé. She says Hype Williams, the director, was part of putting Aaliyah on that faulty plane as punishment. That is not speculation. That is an outright accusation. And then we look at Static Major. After Aaliyah's death, Static was deeply affected. He lost a sister in music, someone he loved and respected. But more than that, he lost someone who understood the same machine he was trying to fight. Insiders say Static started keeping a journal, writing names, dates, and motives, trying to document what really happened to Aaliyah. That journal has never been seen since his death. Static died in 2008 at just 33 years old. He went into the hospital for what should have been a simple procedure, a catheter placement. Instead, he never came out alive. The hospital called it complications. His family sued for malpractice, but those close to him believe there was more to the story. Another voice, another whistleblower, silenced before he could reveal too much. His death mirrored a disturbing pattern. Artists and insiders dying in hospitals from so-called routine complications right when they were ready to speak. Kim Porter, Diddy's ex and mother of his children also died from pneumonia complications just days before she was reportedly going to release a tell-all memoir. The timing was too convenient, the cause too vague, just like Static, just like others who tried to speak out. How many coincidences does it take before people start asking if it's a pattern? Jaguar Wright says Aaliyah's plane wasn't just an accident, it was a chess piece move. Remove her from the board to make way for others. She says Mary J. Blige, sitting on 106 and Park after the crash, knew what happened. Free, the host, knew too. Both women had been victims of the same power players Jaguar named. And there they were, forced to sit on live television, talking about Aaliyah's death like they didn't know who ordered it. Imagine that weight. Knowing the truth but having to act like it was all a mystery. That's psychological warfare. It gets darker when you listen to spiritual teachers like Bobby Hemmett, who call Aaliyah's death a ritual sacrifice. He said, her energy was used, that her role in the movie Queen of the Damned even tied into deeper meanings. Rituals in the industry are not new rumors. They are whispered backstage, they are mentioned in interviews, but they never get mainstream coverage. The idea is simple. When someone becomes too powerful, too independent, their life force is taken as a sacrifice to keep the machine running. Some dismiss this as conspiracy, but when you see the number of stars dying young, right at the height of their power, it makes you wonder. And look at the aftermath. Aaliyah's music was locked away for decades. Her estate fought just to get her albums onto streaming services. Fans were starved of her catalog while labels kept cashing checks. That is not just business. That is control. Take her voice, take her music, take her influence, and lock it away until the timing benefits those in power. The same happened to Static Major. His songwriting credits were overshadowed. Many fans don't even know how much he contributed to the culture. The hits he wrote still play today, making millions for labels and artists, while his name fades. That is not an accident. That is erasure. Now think about the fear in the community. If Aaliyah could be silenced, if Static Major could be erased, if Kim Porter could die before speaking, then who is safe? How many artists live with this fear every day, knowing their careers and their lives are not truly theirs? How many parents, like Aaliyah's, thought they were protecting their child, not realizing the industry had bigger plans that didn't include survival? Jaguar Wright is dangerous to these executives because she refuses to play quiet. She refuses to sign NDAs. She is loud, unfiltered, and calling names directly. She is not just hinting. She is saying outright that Aaliyah's death was not an accident. She is saying Static Major was killed for knowing too much, and she is daring people to prove her wrong. This is why fans are paying attention. Because for 24 years, people have had questions. Why was the plane overloaded? Why did Aaliyah's team allow her to fly unconscious? Why were witnesses silenced with NDAs? Why did the investigation end so quickly? Why did Static Major die mysteriously after allegedly keeping a diary? Why do these stories disappear from the press the moment they surface? Accidents leave paperwork. Cover-ups leave silence. And when the silence is this loud, it demands answers. When you put all the pieces together, the picture is chilling. Aaliyah, a young woman stepping into her full power, gone. Static Major, her closest collaborator and truth-teller, gone. Both deaths wrapped in mystery, both leaving behind questions that the industry wants you to forget. But with Jaguar Wright speaking, with insiders whispering, with fans refusing to let the story die, the silence is breaking. And here is the question that should haunt all of us. If Aaliyah and Static Major were worth more dead than alive to certain people, who else is on that list? Who else has been silenced before their truth could come out? And how long will this cycle continue before people demand real answers? Jaguar Wright may sound wild to some, but every name she calls, every accusation she makes, connects to a pattern we've seen play out again and again. Artists rising too high, speaking too boldly, and suddenly gone. The industry has two lanes. Obey in silence or get steamrolled. Static said it himself. He didn't sugarcoat it. He warned us. And now, looking back, it feels like that warning was also his farewell. So when we honor Aaliyah, when we play Static songs, when we mourn Kim Porter, we also have to ask, what really happened to them? Who benefited from their silence? And how many more will it take before the truth finally comes out?